Today, I want to talk about the concept of consequences, right? I mean, everything we do in life has consequences, right? Both good and bad choices. And it's important to understand this concept if you want to live your best life. So we know that consequences are the result of our actions, right? I mean, they can also be positive and negative. And of course, they shape our lives in countless ways. I mean, a perfect example is if you choose to study for an exam or not, right? I mean, that's classic. Like, if you study for an exam, you're likely to do really good on it. But if you don't study, then you're just going to get a bad grade on the test. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But there's also a downside to studying. I mean, when you study, that means you're not going out and having fun with your friends and expanding your social connections, right? It's just, there's always a trade-off. Or you can go out and have fun with your friends, build the social connections, but then you just do bad on the test. So it's just, it doesn't really matter what you pick. There's always going to be a negative downside, no matter how good the action is. The main thing to point out here is you just have to choose the actions that have the consequences with the most positive upside and the least negative downside. Let's take a look at some other real life examples. I mean, if you decide to eat healthy and exercise regularly, well then yeah, you're going to turn into a Giga Chad in like a couple of years. But if you choose to eat junk food and never lift a weight in your life, then yeah, you're gonna be fat and probably die of a heart attack at age 30. But again, there are some negative consequences to exercise. And don't ever use this as a cope to not exercise. But for me, I mean, I have had a couple of weightlifting injuries, I've had a lot of bicep strains, and yeah, that's just me though. That was my fault though for, accidentally ego lifting a couple times. But the thing is, I learned my lesson. And what if I didn't exercise? Okay, maybe I wouldn't have had those bicep strains, or maybe wouldn't have had like premature joint wear or whatever the hell you want to use. But then, okay, let's see. I would not be happy with my body, which means I would be more depressed, which means I would have lower confidence, which means I wouldn't have started this YouTube channel, which means I would not be very fulfilled, which means the list just goes on. Do you see what would happen if I didn't exercise? There's so many downsides to not exercising, and then the downsides to exercising are nothing compared to that. To sum that point up, if you're making excuses like premature joint wear or whatever the hell you're saying for not exercising, then you're full of shit. Okay? Now go do a push-up or something. And this same concept can be applied to relationships, our career, our finances, everything. Every decision we make has some sort of consequence. I've said this so many times already. It's also important to think about the potential consequences of the action you make before you make that decision. And as I mentioned before, it's good to weigh the potential consequences of the actions you're going to take. And with this, you shouldn't just be thinking short term, but also long term. Consider the pros and cons and make sure that the decision you're making also aligns with your goals and your values. For me, being healthy is a very important value of mine, so I'm going to make the sacrifice every single day to exercise a minimum of 30 minutes. I can make that sacrifice no matter what, but the thing is, it is a sacrifice, meaning there are potential downsides to it. I mean, yeah, maybe I could use that 30 minutes to work on my videos more so I can upload more and upload with better edits, but then if I do that, I'm missing out on the upsides of exercise, and I've already talked about this. You know how important exercise is. Okay, so before I keep repeating myself over and over again, the last thing that I want to touch on here is that we are fully responsible for the consequences of our actions. Don't be a bitch. Don't blame other people because you made the wrong choice, okay? If you chose not to exercise even though you had free time and energy, it's on you, and you have to deal with the consequences. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but somebody has to tell you this. It's your fault. If you did a bad action like watching too many YouTube videos like this one and wasting time, own up to it. And the thing is, I'm not perfect either. I've definitely wasted more time on YouTube than I'd like to admit, but the thing is, I'm owning those consequences. If I don't get enough work done today, but my screen time on YouTube is more than like 2 hours, well, yeah, it's my fault. You know it's not good for you, and you know it's delaying your dream. But you already knew that, and you should take full responsibility for that. And yeah, we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond to things that happen to us. Just by understanding the concept of consequences from our actions, both good and bad, then we can make thoughtful decisions so we can create a better future for ourselves. Just remember that everything you do has returns later, whether it be good or bad returns, and ideally you want to maximize the good returns, which means you have to be doing more delayed gratification things. If that means that you cut out an hour of video games so that you can meditate, you can read, you can gratitude journal, you can work on your YouTube channel, just anything with delayed gratification, you'll see those immense returns, but you just have to sacrifice right now. I've been doing it for at least a couple of years by now. I can speak from experience with this stuff. Okay, so that's what I got for you today, but please drop a like and a sub if you liked the video, and come hang out on Discord with me. I just started a new Discord server where you can chat and hang out and honestly just have a good time. All right. See you on the next one.